I have enough audience, and it's the audience that's interested in this
Mm,
already, you know what I mean?
mm,
It's the people. I don't need the people that are just looking for the next, oh, let me just look on what's entertaining for tonight. I'm into the
mm,
people that are die hard and I've got everyone. I've got everyone who's anything right now, and anyone knows about me at least, you know, know, even if they don't have full confidence in me yet.
mm.
You know, like Jack Sarfati was an example. You know, he didn't want to speak at the conference at first. You know, he's like, and there's a couple other people like that still feel like they don't want to, they have no interest in speaking at, you know, Tim Ventura's conference. And I respect and I understand that, because Tim has let some people in before. No offense to Tim, he does a great job at moderating and stuff, but it's some of the people that get into these conferences. So but that's just I feel like we have to be open, you know, to like letting anyone in, so like anyone can come and present. We have to like keep it open, but we have to like, so we started a policy now. We were screening their PDF beforehand, you know, where he sends it to like everyone, and we make sure that this guy's like not, because we had a couple people where it's like, is this guy serious? Is he sabotaging the group? Like
Mm.
we have like, we built this whole conference, like I built this like the episode up, and then we have a guy coming on and it's talking nothing about science or engineering, and he's just talking about UFOs and aliens and stuff, you know, and like who let this guy on, you know, and like and we're all sitting there like, oh geez, you know, is this helping us or hurting us?
Mm.
And you know, it's obvious that, you know, I don't know, it comes obvious that like that there are, and you have to expect that there
Mm.
are those attacks, and then there's people in the audience saying, oh, this doesn't ever happens at scientific conferences. And it's like, dude, how many scientific conferences have you been into? I've always seen a couple people at the end sneak in. You know, there's always the one guy at the conference that presents where like half the people walk out of the room, or they sit there like this the whole time. You know what I mean? There's always that guy.
Mm.
You know, so
So
it's not,
why don't we back up a little just for people who don't get
yeah.
like what we're talking about with the conference. So to like contextualize everything, like the reason that you're mad about Bob Lazar is because you have set up APEC, or you're were you the founder, or anyway, you've been a
No.
part of APEC, who are bringing together a whole bunch of scientists who have done like legit work on advanced technology with the US government or with private contractors or both, and you're trying to bring them all together and get them to explore and discuss a lot of this technology,
Right.
and you're frustrated
Let's
because
back up a little bit. One
okay.
second. Um, so Apex started because there was these two other conferences that existed. They're the only big conferences for space propulsion and alternative energies, and it's the STAFE conference, which turned into the STAFE 2 conference, which is STAIFF, right? DARPA did a lot of recruiting for work out of the STAFE conference. It was basically like a conference where people could come and present papers and ideas on, and there was a section F of that conference, which was specifically on propulsion and propulsion technologies, and that was one of the more interesting ones. There's also another conference called the Estes Park Conference, which is run by Jim Woodward, of the Woodward effect and the Mach effect. He's basically the guy that's been running the Estes Park Conference, and it's another kind of separate propulsion conference. So I knew about these conferences. I followed them for years, because they're a great source of information. You look at, you know, what projects were presented there, and you can find a lot of the stuff before it went black, you know. Um, and it's a great way to find, you know, because all these black projects have to go somewhere before they're given, you know, before they're taken, inducted into the government and given a contract. They go to these conferences, and that's where you're going to find the papers. That's where you're going to find the scientists. So that's where I did a lot of my human resources work early on. Then we took all those people from those conferences. We started attending those conferences and meeting more people from those conferences, right, over the years. And then just last year, when with COVID-19 and Zoom call and all these, the conferences went on to Zoom calls, right? And when they went to Zoom calls, we just got the email list and we said, we're going to start our own conference, and we're going to make it every week instead of once a year, because once a year is not enough time. We're going to do it. We need to do something once a year. So it was kind of like, it wasn't just my idea. It was at like the whole group of us were getting together on WhatsApp, and we were discussing this. And I brought Tim Ventura into the group because he's one of the guys that ran American Anti-Gravity early on that got me into this. You know what I mean? So when I was researching American Anti-Gravity back in like early 2000. He was, had articles on Ning Li and NASA anti-gravity experiments, Podkletnov, the replications that were done in the US of that Podkletnov experiment, and stuff on Gravity Probe B, all kinds of interesting stuff that got me involved in doing the research into gravitation and just theory and the physics of gravity way back in the day. It's of course taken me in all crazier directions since then. But again, this is where the roots of that conference started, because we were attending these other conferences, meeting a lot of these scientists, and then we were having our own group chats to the point where we took some of the better people out of these conferences that would talk to us. At least some of them won't even talk to you, and that's how they're probably the people you really want to talk to, because they can't talk to you. But again, we've gotten enough of people that can talk to us, and enough people that say like, listen, I can't say anything, I can't tell you anything, but I can sit in the background and say hot or cold, right? I can lead you on a little bit. So we've got some good, some good guidance now, and I know that there's some disinformation in the group too, because when they see a group like us getting as far as we've come, they're going to try to send people after us, and they're going to send, people in the mix to kind of disrupt things or distract people and mix things up a bit. So we're on our toes about that. But again, it's a great idea of these conferences, of what we can do with the technology now. And COVID kind of actually, I don't know, it kind of changed all that, and it opened this up. And it also made a lot of these older guys that have been working on this for years, they're all, in their 70s, 80s, they're high risk now. And it's gotten a lot of them to talk more, to be more open about this, because our future is uncertain. We don't know. We need this technology to save humanity. And I think that more people, as they're understanding that message and understanding what this technology can do and what it means, they're engaging in like a public effort to, unify and rally the troops, so to speak, that maybe it doesn't have to come from the government, because it should come from a grassroots sort of organic kind of start. And that's where I'm coming from with it. I've never worked I've worked in construction for the past 15 years. I've worked in construction to put myself through college, and that's kind of what I do now. That's what I enjoy doing it. I like building stuff. I like working with my hands, and I like building stuff. I want to be building a craft in a lab somewhere and doing lab experiments and stuff. I'm not quite there yet. I've been going down to New Jersey and doing some experiments with Mark at his lab. But I'm meeting more people with more laboratories and more building experience and more capabilities now. And we're starting to network with those groups. After being on Tim Pool, it's opened me up to a lot more. I have a lot more, serious people contacting me, like people that are really, really solid engineers with really solid resumes and stuff. And, we're starting to discuss some ideas. I think there's technologies out there that really could go a long way. The 3D metal printing and 3D printing, although I don't know if 3D printing techniques always is the perfect way. There's some newer ones with the powder coating and the way they lay a laser. They use powder layers of metal powders, and then they use lasers to melt the powders to create 3D print with metal.
Okay.
That way is pretty sick. There's some pretty amazing technologies out there, but we want to like get a facility together to start just experimenting with them. And I also I'm trying to get Elon's attention too with that, like, again, I don't know about the it does seem like we're in a bubble with the information, because I did that grandmother challenge recently. You saw the video I did with Elon, and I basically was like, how does Elon never heard of the Tic Tac? Because he told Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan asked him about the Tic Tac.
Yeah.
And apparently, like, I guess we do kind of live in an information bubble, and it's kind of weird to think that, but at the same time, I realize it completely, because I've been, sort of screaming about these technologies and these other things, and I'm in this information bubble, and I'm not doing it with the right communication, because I don't have like a whole network behind me to like do video editing and animations and stuff, and make all this stuff super easy and accessible to people in like 5-minute digestible chunks of information. Oh, metallic glass, and now you're an expert.
Yeah.
5 minutes, here you go. Some of this stuff's real complicated, and the information bubble's real, because you realize, oh, I'm trying to get this information out to people, but some of them, my problem is getting people's attention long enough for them to understand it. And then you realize that some of the other stuff that you've been involved in is probably, they look at that first, because it's easier to digest and understand, because it's nonsense, because that's the nonsense stuff that you had to dig through for 15 years to get to where you are. And they're just coming into this now. So they're like, well, let me go back to this stuff, because I'm not even, they need like 15 years to catch up to my level now. Like, and they have to, so they're at Bob Lazar right now, which is where I was like 15 years ago. And I'm trying to bring them up to speed, but meanwhile they're like, oh, this guy's way too smart, and he got to work for the CIA, because how could he dare say that Bob Lazar is not telling the truth?
Thanks so much for listening. If you haven't already and you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to this podcast and to our mailing list. And don't forget, my book, Brexit, The Establishment Civil War, is now available for pre-order on Amazon. You'll find the link in the description below. Until next time, thanks so much for listening.